On my 26th birthday, I met my end. My stepmother orchestrated the tragedy by having my stepsister push me into a swimming pool. My fiancé watched helplessly as I, unable to swim, slowly submerged and suffocated. In those final moments, a voice whispered to me, offering a chance to return to the past. When I regained consciousness, chaos surrounded me. As my sight became clear, I recognized the sea of red and green uniforms from my high school days. There was no time to ponder. I saw a woman, likely in her 40s, enter the room. "The midterm results are out. Our class performed exceptionally well," she announced, her eyes locking onto mine with a mocking gaze. "Some students stayed true to themselves," she remarked, snapping me back to reality. I had truly been reincarnated, back to my first year of high school. Displayed on the large screen, my name was near the bottom of the list, barely making the top 80 in Chinese. My other grades were even worse. I had been a struggling student, yet I was placed in the top class of the city's premier school solely because my father, Jason, was one of the city's top 3 successful businessmen. While others scored around 500 or 600, my mere 300 was untouchable, until my teacher Dora intervened. "Maria, stand up!" she demanded. Still disoriented from drowning and not fully grasping what was happening, I stumbled to my feet and moved toward the classroom door, mumbling, "Is this punishment? Fine, I'll stay in the hallway." The room fell silent. The teacher hadn't anticipated my defiance. "Maria, what do you think this class is about? Come back here now!" she shouted, but it was too late. I was already stepping out when I collided with a girl at the door. Upon seeing her, my blood ran cold, and I trembled uncontrollably. "Hello, classmate," the girl greeted, but her warmth couldn't thaw my icy demeanor. Before me stood Jasmine, the same girl who had appeared the summer my kind mother passed away, taking away all my father's love and everything I cherished for 16 years. Still dazed, I watched as the teacher introduced Jasmine as our new classmate. Jasmine nervously opened her mouth to speak, but I approached her and slapped her across the face, a gesture held in for 10 years, now unleashed. The class gasped, and the teacher quickly pulled me aside, tears in her eyes. Jasmine covered her face, appearing like a frightened bunny. If I hadn't known her malicious nature, I might have been deceived by her innocent facade. After my mother's death in my previous life, I realized Jasmine's presence was deliberate. The tearful girl before me knew who I was. In my past life, I had been foolish enough to overlook her true intentions and even confided in her. "Maria, have you lost it? Why did you hit the new student?" the teacher scolded. I glared at Jasmine and replied coldly, "No reason. I just felt like hitting a bitch." Furious, the teacher escorted me to the office for a reprimand. As we walked, memories from my previous life flooded back. In the latter half of my first year, Jasmine had become my classmate. She was frail, her big watery eyes often half lowered. My reckless nature meant I barely paid her any attention. But the day she transferred, I was harassed by some thugs on my way home. Jasmine appeared just in time, threatening to call the police and scaring them off. From then on, I considered her a good friend, protecting her and even introducing her to my mom. Thinking of my mother now brought a wave of sadness and suffocation. Back in the present, the teacher continued, "You are my student and not at liberty to be so unruly in class." I nodded without sincerity, but she added earnestly, "Jasmine comes from a single-parent home and has had a tough life. You may not understand, but you should respect her." I empathized with her plight, but saw her as a manipulator. Although she lacked a father, her mother had been capable. Tired of the teacher's lecture, I feigned remorse as I left. She sighed. "Maria, you're a good kid, but you should behave like a student." I began to question whether she was as strict as I remembered. Back in the classroom, I saw Jasmine sitting next to me, seemingly oblivious to the slap, smiling as she greeted me. Enraged, I kicked her chair hard. "Can't you see? Move aside!" My hostility made her too scared to speak during class, giving me time to reflect on my rebirth. The heavens had granted me a second chance, not to bully others, but to live my life impressively and ensure Jasmine never slipped away with her deceit. In the next period, we had foreign language class. Last month's test papers were being distributed. My paper was covered in SpongeBob drawings with no proper answers. I facepalmed, realizing how immature I had been. The test was challenging. "Can anyone translate this?" the teacher asked, and the class fell silent. I looked at the passage thinking, is it that hard? No one in the top class should struggle. It was a simple story. After my mother's death in my previous life, I had gone abroad to escape home, making Spanish my second native language. "Teacher, I can do it." I raised my hand. Some classmates whispered, and even the teacher seemed puzzled. "Maria, why don't you give it a try?" I smoothly went through the article, explaining multiple meanings of difficult words and clearly answering each fill-in-the-blank question. The teacher didn't need to review it again. "It's obvious you put a lot of effort into this article. Well done," she praised sincerely. Jasmine watched me closely. She was supposed to be the clueless slacker. "Teacher, I have an idea to help everyone learn a second language better. We could try something," I suggested, sounding sincere. The teacher appeared hesitant. I continued, "How about we have the class teach each other, like I just did?" Before she could respond, I added, "I hear Jasmine is really good at studying. Why don't we let her handle the next question?" Jasmine, who had previously studied in a small town with little background in a second language, panicked. "Sorry, teacher, I can't," she stammered, pretending surprise. "This question is the easiest one. How can you not know it?" The teacher frowned. Rumors had it that Jasmine had been admitted to the advanced class through special means and couldn't even answer a simple question. No teacher likes a student who doesn't study but receives special treatment. I knew this well. We were indeed in an advanced class. Besides, studying was the only thing that mattered. Everything else was trivial. "Jasmine, you should sit down," I thought. The teacher's displeasure was evident for the rest of the class, while Jasmine kept her head down in embarrassment. I, however, eagerly answered questions, enjoying the satisfaction of being academically proficient. Seeing Jasmine so defeated made me feel immensely pleased. By evening, self-study ended at 9 p.m. Classmates left one by one, leaving only Jasmine lingering, reflecting on the day's events from my past life. As I walked home, a mere 10 minutes away through a long, narrow alley, I noticed the lights were oddly out, shrouding the path in darkness. A sleazy male voice echoed from the shadows as a thug emerged, flanked by 4 accomplices. I stood my ground, unfazed, even offering a faint smile. "I suggest you leave now," he said. "I thought you were pretending to be calm. Feisty, huh? I like that." He reached out to touch my face just as a familiar voice intervened. "Don't touch her." Jasmine lingered at the path's end, clutching her phone tightly. "If you bully my classmate again, I'll involve the authorities," she threatened. These exact words echoed in my mind, just as I remembered. I signaled for Jasmine to come over, walking steadily in her direction. Upon reaching her, I swiftly took her hand and gave myself a slap. At that instant, a black sedan pulled up to the alley entrance. A man hurriedly exited the vehicle, shoved Jasmine aside, and rushed toward me. "Maria, what's going on?" he demanded. The aggressor fled in a panic, leaving Jasmine standing bewildered with tears streaming down her face. I glanced up at the man before me. "Dad, I was so frightened. I didn't do anything to my new classmate," I explained. He looked perplexed. "I don't understand why she's picking on you when she hasn't bullied anyone before. Jasmine always acted like the victim." I had intended to ensure Jasmine had no choice but to follow her destructive path. Meanwhile, Jason had just left his job to pick me up after my call. He hadn't anticipated seeing his daughter surrounded by troublemakers and being slapped by someone else. Before reaching the school, he shot a stern look at the girl beside me, anger intensifying when he recognized it was Jasmine. "Jasmine taught you to mistreat my daughter like this?" he questioned. Jasmine quickly denied it, waving her hands. "Uncle, it's not what you think. I didn't do anything." "Are you saying my daughter slapped herself? Do you think I'm blind?" Jason responded sharply, pulling her aside. I could faintly hear him declare, "I didn't enroll you in an advanced class to learn bad behavior. Tell your mother I won't be coming over anytime soon." I realized my once respectable father had already started something with that woman by now. "Dad, do you know my new classmate?" I asked innocently, looking up at him. Jason's demeanor shifted slightly, struggling to conceal his feelings in front of me. "Of course I don't know her, but since she's been bullying you, I need to reprimand her." "But she's your new classmate after all," he continued, attempting to defend Jasmine. I quickly interjected, "Don't worry, Dad. I'll get along with my classmates." He looked somewhat surprised. "Maria, you're becoming more considerate," he remarked. I smiled genuinely, knowing that Maria had matured and wanted to make him proud. Inside, however, I felt a chill and a wave of nausea. "Maria, I've been so busy lately that I haven't spent much time with you. I promise to be more present," Jason added, a trace of guilt in his expression. But all I felt was revulsion. A decade of heartbreak left me numb to further pain. Only vengeance could provide some relief. Back at home, I passed by the swimming pool that had submerged me in my previous life, feeling dizzy. The house remained as I remembered it, thankfully without any sign of Jasmine. "Maria, you're back," a familiar voice called from upstairs. I froze, looking up and waiting as footsteps approached until my gentle mother's face appeared. "Mom!" I couldn't hold back the tears, rushing upstairs to embrace her tightly. "I missed you so much." Emily seemed startled. "Maria, what's wrong?" I cried, releasing the tears of my past life. In my previous existence, before graduating high school, Jasmine's mother, Helen, had frequently come over to antagonize us. Jasmine had gained Jason's favor, and they had completely taken over our family home. The day I returned from college entrance exams, I found my mother at the bottom of the stairs, with Helen standing triumphantly on the second floor. "Your mother fell down the stairs herself. She was so careless," Helen sneered. "My mother never reached the hospital and died before she could say her final words to me." After my mother's passing, Helen and her daughter took over our home, occupying the second floor. I lashed out, but all I received was a harsh slap from Jason and a stern warning, "Don't disrespect your Aunt Helen. From now on, we are family." That was the beginning of my nightmare. Years later, Jasmine took my fiancé on her wedding day, confessing that Helen had pushed my mother down the stairs and that my father had known all along. In a fit of rage, I fought Jasmine, who then pushed me into the swimming pool where I drowned. "Why are you crying like this? Did someone bully you at school?" My mother comforted me, holding my shoulders and wiping away my tears. My heart felt warmed, believing no one would dare harm your daughter, Mom. "I just missed you. Missed me," I replied. After just one day, of course, I missed her deeply. Snuggling with my mother, soaking in her warmth, Jason approached. "What are you two crying and laughing about?" he asked. He rarely interacted with us. In my last life, on this very day, he was likely with Jasmine and her mother. Less than a week later, my mother received a call from Helen confirming Jason's affair. Emily, gentle on the surface but strong within, had a major fight with Jason. The stress damaged her lungs, causing persistent coughing for 2 years. In this life, I had disrupted Jasmine's plans, but I wasn't sure what Helen would do next. I began studying diligently and noticed that Jasmine was never a good student. She struggled to keep up in classes and often didn't understand much despite attending regularly. Honestly, she was quite dull. In my previous life, she relied on my influence to get by, but this life was much tougher for her. A regular assignment was due before the break. "Jasmine, what's wrong? Why haven't you submitted your work?" the group leader asked, visibly annoyed and treating her like garbage. "I'm almost done. Just give me a bit more time, okay?" Jasmine pleaded, looking pitiful. But such acts only tarnish her reputation among teenagers. I stood up slowly, deliberately knocking over a cup of water that drenched her papers. "Oops, looks like you'll have to start over," I said with a playful wink. She clenched her fists, ready to explode, but managed to hold back and shed a few tears. "Maria, what did I ever do to you? What did she do to me?" she cried. "That's a great question," I replied. "She's done so much that it would take an entire book to cover it." Leaning into her ear, I coldly added, "Do you know you look like a toad when you cry?" Confused by my sudden change in demeanor, she stopped crying. The next day, Helen arrived at the school gate wearing a flashy red dress and oversized sunglasses, resembling a washed-up celebrity. "You're Maria, right?" she called out warmly, reaching out to grab me. I stepped back disdainfully. "And you are?" I pretended not to recognize her. "I'm a colleague of your dad's. I'm here to pick you up. Your father has dinner with friends tonight," she explained. A colleague? What a joke. Jason is the company president, and she's just a minor employee, I thought. This never happened in my previous life, indicating my actions had altered the course of events. But that was exactly what I wanted. As long as Helen stayed away from my mother, I had plenty of ways to handle her. Throughout the ride, Helen tried to charm me, acting as if she knew me well. "Your father always says you're a good kid. Seeing you today, I really like you. Your skin looks so fresh and youthful." "Auntie, you're just older," I responded through the rearview mirror. "It's normal for your skin to sag. Maybe you should consider some injections or treatments." She looked slightly embarrassed, but I didn't give her a chance to recover. "Why would my dad discuss family matters with a lowly employee like you?" I asked bluntly, highlighting the disparity between her status and Jason's. This infuriated her. She had entered the company through my father's influence, and without it, her middle school education wouldn't have qualified her for even a janitorial job. After my mother died, she married my father and naturally became the company owner's wife. Somehow, she even became the company's second-largest shareholder, a share that should have belonged to my mother and, ultimately, to me. It's a pity that in my past life I was too timid and impulsive, which is why this woman pushed me down, I thought bitterly. "Andy, do you always wear such flashy clothes?" "My dad hates bright colors," she commented. "I can't blame you," I retorted. "Have you ever heard the saying, the poorer someone's psyche is, the more they dress gaudily to compensate?" I mocked her without showing any respect, maintaining an innocent and harmless expression. "How can you speak to me like that?" I responded sharply. "I'm still your senior," she countered, her annoyance clear from spending so much time with my father. She genuinely believed she was superior, which I found somewhat amusing. "What kind of senior are you to me?" I pressed. "You're just a low-level employee at my father's company, so stop pretending otherwise, Maria," she retorted loudly as our car gradually came to a stop at the restaurant entrance. Jason quickly approached upon seeing me in the back seat. "Maria, why are you late?" I stepped out of the car with a guilty expression. "Dad, I think I might have inadvertently offended this woman earlier." My intentions were innocent, but Helen still looked upset until Jason arrived. She quickly masked her anger with a friendly smile. "It's nothing. Kids usually don't mean any harm." "Really, Auntie? But you just called yourself my senior and asked me to respect you more," I continued. Jason seemed to take offense to the term senior. His eyes narrowed sharply at Helen. "No, I didn't say that. I was just telling you to return to the company. You're not needed here." Interrupting her, he pulled me away. Helen, with red eyes, bit her lip but remained silent. I was well aware of my father's nature: hypocritical, power-hungry, and distrustful. His authority was absolute, especially towards those close to him. Any hint of disobedience led to their exclusion, making him despise Helen and Jasmine even more when they showed signs of greed. When I saw Eric in the restaurant's private room, memories from my past life surfaced. Jason hadn't introduced him until my sophomore year of high school, but as our families grew closer, I developed deep feelings for him, eventually falling in love. Now, as a freshman, his early appearance in my current life confused me. Eric still had that distant, aloof charm I remembered. In my previous life, I was infatuated with him for 2 years, even getting engaged. After my mother's death, he was my only source of hope, despite never officially acknowledging my feelings and remaining indifferent. Later, he became involved with Jasmine and callously blamed me for preventing him from marrying the woman he loved. Seeing Eric and Jasmine together in a hotel shattered my heart, leaving me breathless. I ended the engagement abruptly, but my selfless act didn't earn his favor. At the engagement party's deserted garden, He allowed Jasmine, his fiancée, to push me, who couldn't swim, into the pool and watched me struggle. "Maria, someone like you should have died long ago," he said cruelly. Those harsh words echoed until I found myself face to face with him again. "Hi, I'm Eric." "Hi, I'm Maria. Please take care of me," I greeted warmly, shaking his hand. Seeing his astonishment, I realized why he had chosen Jasmine over me in my past life. After my mother's passing, I had become overly dependent, viewing him as my only support, not realizing it was toxic. Eric had been a significant factor in my suffering until my death. "Maria, didn't you know? Eric attends your school now. If you need help, feel free to ask him," someone informed me. Eric quickly added, "I'll take care of you, Maria." I felt a chill of scorn. "I should be the one looking after you, Eric. There's a long way to go, but I'll take good care of you." The meal lacked flavor as I was preoccupied with healing my mother's emotional wounds. My father's affair with Helen was undeniable, but I wanted to protect my mother from further pain. A week later, midterm exams arrived. Previously, I had been at the bottom of the class, but this time I had climbed into the top 30. My math still needed work. Despite 2 months of hard study, I only scored a 90. I glanced at Jasmine's name, unsurprisingly at the bottom of the list. Everything seemed to be going my way. My grades improved, my mother was still alive, and Jasmine and her mother couldn't cause trouble. For now. However, when I arrived home, something felt off. Before entering, I sensed something unusual and heard items being shattered. Inside, my mother sat on the sofa, eyes closed, whispering in pain. "Jason, you want a divorce?" It was inevitable. My mother had discovered his affair. I rushed in, took the prearranged medicine from my room, and offered it to her with water. "Mom, please don't be upset. Take the medicine first, okay?" Perhaps too calmly, she took the medicine and followed me upstairs. I glanced back at Jason. Despite my deep-seated hatred for him, I feigned comfort. "Dad, I'll talk to Mom. It's not the time to sever ties with Jason yet." I couldn't allow my mother to endure this trauma again. My composed demeanor seemed to soothe Jason, who then stormed out, likely thinking of how Helen would have a restless night. When I entered my mother's room, she was lost in thought. The first thing she said was, "Maria, are you hungry?" Tears welled up as I embraced her. "Don't worry, I'll always be here for you." She had already sensed something. "You knew about it already, didn't you?" she said, smartly deducing that my recent improvement was connected. I nodded, tears filling her eyes, and my usually graceful mother cursed Jason for his cruelty towards me. Even now, she puts me first. "Mom, I've grown up," I said, offering her a cup of warm water. In our past lives, Helen and Jasmine had tormented us, but I had forgotten how strong my mother truly was. "Look at this. I did really well." I showed her my report card. 6th place. "How did you improve so much?" she asked, confused but then joyous. "Mom, it feels like I've had a breakthrough in my studies. These problems seem easy now, and those messy life issues will be easier for us to handle," I explained. Her eyes filled with tears as her strong facade crumbled. She covered her mouth and cried softly. "Maria, you're too young to understand these things," she murmured, gently brushing my forehead. "Don't worry, darling. I won't let anyone bully you." In my past life, Jasmine had already infiltrated our family, securing my father's favor through support. Helen was bold enough to directly contact my mother. This time, Helen had timed an intimate message to Jason perfectly, ensuring my mother saw it. Fortunately, I was present to diffuse my mother's anger. Jason might be foolish, but even he could see through Helen's schemes. The next day, Jasmine arrived at school as usual, appearing self-satisfied and looking down on me. I called Jason's office but discovered he wasn't there, nor was Helen. After school, I noticed a car picking up Jasmine. I recognized it as one from Jason's company. I intended to follow her but bumped into Eric instead. "Maria, I heard your grades have significantly improved. Congratulations." I wasn't interested in him. I just wanted to catch up with Jasmine, I replied, but he kept talking. I heard you struggle with math. Need any help? In my past life, Jason had arranged for Eric to tutor me, and I had fallen for him. I was about to decline, but then changed my mind. Mindy smiled sweetly and agreed. Sure, I'd appreciate that. Thinking deeply, only a few things could truly provoke Jason. One was Helen's pregnancy with a boy. Jason had long desired a son, hoping it would erase his unhappiness. Helen had previously miscarried due to a dog allergy, a reaction caused when a dog brushed against her, leading to the miscarriage. It wasn't anyone's fault. Karma, they say. But for me, it was a chance for revenge. 3 days later, Jason finally remembered to come home, excited about his impending son. However, he had just been caught cheating. My mother was upstairs observing him. Jason, we need to talk, she said, leading to a heated argument. He seemed unfazed by being caught, merely stating, I want a son. The woman was pregnant, and Jason nodded before softening his stance. Emily won't take your place. After the boy is born, she'll leave. In our past life, he hadn't considered divorce until after my mother died, too proud to marry a mistress. Helen had wanted to replace us so desperately that she had resorted to murder. Jason, you're insane, my mother exclaimed. Seeing her fury, I hurried in with prepared tea to take her to the next room. Jason looked guilty upon seeing me. Maria, why are you here? It's the weekend, I replied. Mom, drink this, I instructed. Jason had one final thing to say. I'd be occupied and won't return for some time, Emily. Think it over. After he departed, I quietly asked Mom if she was going to divorce him. You'll be waiting for my response, I said. She paused, then countered, What about you? If we divorce, what happens to you? My frustration flared. You not divorcing hurts me even more. Maybe my urgency affected you. She stayed silent for a moment before raising her chin resolutely. I will divorce him. I can't let you get hurt. It didn't take long for her to make up her mind the next day. Mom dressed in her business attire and left for the company. Since my birth, she had relinquished her managerial position. Although the company seemed to be Jason's, Mom only owned 30%, just 10% less than Jason. Before she left, she teased me by tousling my hair and asked, Maria, what have you been drinking? It's soothing, just some throat tea, I replied with a smile. I had memorized the recipe from her battle with lung disease in a past life after using it for a year. After seeing her off, I checked my phone and saw Eric's message. Maria, I'll be waiting in the music room for evening study. I responded with an emoji and grabbed my backpack to head to school. It was Monday, and I rushed into the classroom just as the first bell rang. For morning readings, Jasmine was buried in a stack of books, pretending to study, but I could clearly see she was chatting on her phone. The person she was talking to had Jason's Instagram profile picture. As I leaned over to look at her screen, a message arrived. After class, Uncle will send someone to pick you up and take you to the hospital. You need to study hard. Got it? Jasmine responded, Thank you, Uncle. Jasmine won't disappoint you. I couldn't help but laugh. These two were quite the actors. Maria, why are you standing there? Class has started. Sit down. The teacher's voice snapped Jasmine back to reality. She looked up, and our eyes met. Startled, she quickly put her phone away. Jasmine, I heard from the teacher that you're from a single-parent household, I said after sitting down. I had never spoken to her kindly before, so she was surprised and then showed a pitiful expression. Even though I'm from a single-parent household, I never feel inferior to anyone else. No wonder she had deceived me when we were kids. If that's the case, why are you playing with your phone in class? I teased. She blushed immediately and mumbled, Because my mom is in the hospital. I interrupted. The teacher said you've made great progress recently and wants me to help students with poor grades. Although I don't have tutoring experience, there's a senior who can teach me math. You can join us? You probably know him. His name is Eric. Mentioning Eric's name made Jasmine's eyes light up. She immediately agreed. I'd love that. Thank you, Maria. Helen and her daughter always aimed to marry up to improve their social status. As I entered the music room, melodies filled the air. Eric was seriously playing the piano. The handsome boy, bathed in sunlight, resembled a teen drama's male lead, but I felt nothing but disgust when I saw him. In contrast, Jasmine was staring at him, blushing. She had dressed up today, with her hair loose over her shoulders and a touch of makeup, looking quite charming. Eric looked up, his gaze shifting from me to Jasmine, clearly impressed. Exactly what I wanted. Eric had been instructed by his father to win my favor for our family's future alliance, but I was never his type. He ended up spending a year on me before getting close to Jasmine. In this life, I would openly tie them together, preventing any secretive behavior. Eric, this is my classmate Jasmine. We're here to learn from you. You don't mind, right? I said sweetly, acting friendly. Your classmate is my friend. Of course, I don't mind, Eric replied without taking his eyes off Jasmine. During the math tutoring session, I became the third wheel as Eric patiently taught Jasmine math problems, completely ignoring me. Jasmine played along flirtatiously. I have so many questions. You're so smart. I'm sure you don't mind helping, right? I've learned enough for now. Since you have so many questions, you can study on your own. I stood up to leave, taking the keys to lock the door behind me. On the third day, Jasmine approached me with a shy yet accusatory look. Maria, why did you lock the door? Do you know Eric and I were stuck here until midnight before someone let us out? I replied coldly, not wanting to engage. She seemed proud as she tilted her chin. Eric said our backgrounds are different, so he will tutor me alone. She thought mentioning Eric would make me jealous, unaware it was part of my plan. Recently, Mom had been rushing to the company every day, looking increasingly anxious. I could almost predict what was happening based on my past life during my sophomore year. Jason's company faced a major crisis when they were reported for tax evasion after years of avoidance. Jason nearly lost half the company before stabilizing it. Mom, being an auditor, must have noticed the financial discrepancies while working there. In class today, the teacher discussed a local news story. I told Mom while handing her a cup of cold tea. She seemed distracted but remained gentle. There was a celebrity caught evading taxes and went to jail because they couldn't pay up. Her expression changed to one of contemplation. I quickly dismissed it. It's just the final season. The teacher wanted to lighten the mood with some stories, but tax evasion is a serious matter. We should be careful. I turned to go back to my room, but noticed her expression shifting multiple times before she finally calmed down. Mom, I hope you make the right choice this time. Lately, Jasmine has been dressing up more, constantly checking herself in the mirror during class. She's been studying with Eric for over 2 months, I mentioned. I had no idea how deep their relationship had become. Jasmine, how are your studies with Eric going? I asked the girl next to me, who looked proud for a moment before putting on a modest front. He's very patient, but I'm too slow. I might need more tutoring. I smirked inwardly but acted concerned. You might not know, but my dad and Eric's dad are close, so Eric and I are naturally close too. We might even... I saw a flash of cold jealousy in her eyes, almost uncontrollable anger. I continued. Eric is really amazing, isn't he? We're quite a match. Next semester he graduates, so he can probably only tutor you for another month. You should make the most of it. Although she knew I disliked her, she didn't catch my hidden intentions. I need to go to the restroom, she said, clutching her phone as she left her seat. I followed her quietly and overheard her in the bathroom stall on the phone. Eric, what's really going on between you and Maria? She was sniffling as he comforted her for a long time. Eventually, she calmed down. Eric, please don't lie to me. You're the only one I care about. Despite being just a high school girl, she spoke with the maturity of someone much older. I knew Jasmine well, which is why I framed my words to provoke her. When she returned, she looked pale but smug. I acted clueless and said, I asked Eric to come over this weekend to tutor. Do you want to join? She had already decided to come but pretended to be polite. Is that appropriate? I nodded quickly. I was mean to you before. Take this as my apology. After all, you're just a high schooler, not mature enough to understand an adult like me. On my way home from school, I detoured to a pet store before heading back. When I arrived home, Mom was sitting on the couch, looking exhausted while reading some documents. She brightened up as soon as she saw me. I noticed 2 photos tucked into her documents. It was Helen and her daughter. "Anything happening at school?" she asked cautiously. I knew she was referring to Jasmine, so I didn't hide anything. Jasmine was brought to school by Jason and revealed she was actually Helen's daughter. "He took the risk of allowing that woman's daughter to be around you." She suddenly stood up. In reality, Jason hadn't planned it deliberately. Helen's avarice was the real motive. She wanted her daughter to have a better life and perhaps to confuse me. "Don't worry, Mom, I'm okay," the rightful daughter assured her mother. "But how do you know all of this?" Eventually, she realized that this was beyond what a high school student could uncover, so I fabricated a story. I claimed I saw Jasmine with some delinquents and overheard her talking to Jason as he walked by. "That girl had the nerve to bully you." Mom was utterly livid. Normally a gentle person, she was now furious. I contemplated ways to soothe her, but instead, she regained her composure with a hint of cold sarcasm on her face. "Maria, Mom has been working on something important lately." "Mom, I support you no matter what you're doing." Over the weekend, Mom left for work early. Soon after, Eric and Jasmine arrived together. The subtle tension between the 2 teenagers was noticeable to the adults. Suppressing my disgust, I warmly embraced Derek's arm and greeted Eric. "I've been waiting for you." Jasmine looked upset, and Eric was confused by my sudden warmth. All morning I had stuck close to him, even feeding him fruit, constantly emphasizing one thing. "Eric, my dad said we should spend more time together since we're going to..." I trailed off, my face turning red, leaving things to the imagination. Through my display of intimacy, Eric couldn't refuse, and Jasmine became enraged. I excused myself from the room and dialed a long, unused number. "Hello? Who is this?" Helen's voice answered. I feigned anxiety and sadness. "Aunt Helen, do you know where my dad is? I can't reach him. You're his secretary, can you help me find him?" Before she could inquire how I obtained her number, someone else took the phone. Jason's voice followed. "Maria, what's wrong? Don't panic. Speak slowly." I broke down in tears. "Dad, Eric, he doesn't like me. He likes my classmate. They're together now in our house." I deliberately left it vague, allowing for interpretation. Jason thought it was a serious issue and was confused until I mentioned Jasmine. He was silent for a few moments before Helen interrupted. "Impossible," she insisted. "She wouldn't dare." Jason exploded. "She dares to bully my daughter. There's nothing she wouldn't do." He then asked, "They're home now, right? I'm coming over." After hanging up, I accessed the bedroom surveillance on my iPad. Eric and Jasmine were getting cozy. Jasmine even started crying while they whispered sweet nothings, unaware it was all recorded. Within 10 minutes, Jason stormed in with Helen, whose belly was noticeably swollen. As expected, Jasmine was exposed, and her mother couldn't ignore it. I sadly led Jason to the bedroom, where Eric and Jasmine were gazing into each other's eyes, about to cross a line. The worst part was Eric's bold words. "Jasmine, don't worry. Maria is nothing compared to you. You're the only one I like." Jason pulled them apart forcefully. Helen was stunned, leaning against the table, but my eyes were fixed on 2 felted dolls on the table. Amid the chaos, I slipped them into Helen's pocket. When Mom returned, Jason confronted her. "How dare you let them into our home? Everyone from my past life is here, leaving me overwhelmed with emotions." Eric tried to explain. "I'm here to tutor Maria. We're classmates." Jason ignored him, slapping Jasmine. "You slut! Jasmine ruined his plan to pair me with Eric." He was furious. Helen tried to protect her daughter but was pushed aside, ending up on the floor. Mom and I stood apart, watching as Helen struggled, clutching her swollen belly in agony. "My stomach hurts," Jason said as he lifted her, his hand stained with blood. By the time the ambulance arrived, Helen had fainted from the pain. I felt a surge of satisfaction and turned to see my mom's teary eyes. "Mom, what's wrong?" I hugged her, worried by her hoarse voice. "Maria, I don't want you involved in this mess. Mom can handle it. She can handle everything. What exactly? That day, Helen was taken away, and Eric returned home dejected when Mom spoke those words. I saw pain and conflict in her eyes. She shouldn't have suspected it was my plan. To her, I'm just a child. Mom, what are you talking about? She simply shook her head and left the house. Helen's baby was undoubtedly lost after all the toys I placed in her pocket were made of pure dog hair, but Jason believed it was Jasmine and Eric who sabotaged her. Jasmine's face was swollen from his slaps, yet it didn't quell his rage over losing his son. Uncle, it wasn't me. It was Maria who called me to your house for tutoring. You're still dragging my daughter into this. Was it my daughter who made you and Eric act so improperly? When Mom and I arrived at the hospital, this is what we witnessed. I felt a rush of satisfaction, knowing that after this, no matter what Jasmine did, she couldn't win Jason's heart back. However, Mom was unusually calm, which worried me. Facing Helen and her daughter, she remained mostly silent. Even Jason began to feel somewhat ashamed. Emily, have you made up your mind? The baby's gone. What's there to consider? Mom's voice was cold. Serena, were you hoping I'd accept this woman and let two women serve one man? Helen slowly regained consciousness and immediately feigned innocence. I didn't mean that. I just love Jason. I don't need any status. But Mom chuckled coldly. It's not your turn to speak yet. Why does Mom seem so decisive and formidable now? In my memory, she was always gentle and kind. Yet, I felt relieved by her determination. Finally, she wouldn't torment herself over someone else's mistake. She then pulled out a document. Divorce papers. Sign them! Jason panicked instantly, never expecting his obedient wife to be so resolute. He wasn't holding on to Mom. He was clinging to his 30% stake in the company. I'm not getting a divorce, he protested, tearing the papers into pieces. But Mom remained unmoved, laughing coldly. Jason, I gave you a chance. After we left the hospital, she returned to her gentle demeanor. The one I remembered, Maria. Don't do anything unnecessary. Leave the rest to me. Her eyes seemed to pierce through me, reminding me of the bottle of potion hidden in my backpack. I had prepared it a month ago, planning to use it on Eric and Jasmine. They had killed me in my past life. How could I live without making them pay? Mom, what are you talking about? I don't understand. I smiled sweetly. I don't want you to get your hands dirty. She frowned, stroking my hair, but her eyes grew more complicated, and I couldn't comprehend why. What had changed? But my decision was final. There was no turning back. From the moment I saw Eric again, I had fantasized countless times about him falling for me. But the first to fall should be Jasmine, with the potion ready in my hand. Jasmine went to the restroom, leaving her water cup within reach. I hesitated for only a second before adding the potion to it. It was a tasteless, odorless poison I had studied in my past life. It wouldn't kill her immediately, but would slowly corrode her from the inside. I exhaled deeply. This was the most reliable way to kill her that I could think of. But before I could watch Jasmine drink, the teacher called me. Maria, don't be scared. Life changes quickly. Your family's issues won't affect you. She spoke strangely, and then I learned that Jason had been jailed for tax evasion. Only then did I understand that this had been Mom's plan all along. Soon after, she called me. Maria, come home. Mom has something to tell you. Mom had already prepared a large meal. The company shares had been transferred to my name before Jason went to jail. Once I turned 18, I could legally inherit them. As for Helen, there was no need to worry about her. She had embezzled plenty as Jason's secretary, and prison awaited her too. Jasmine probably wouldn't appear at your school anymore. Eric's family company was collapsing under debt, and he had dropped out of school. Jasmine returned to her hometown, where her greedy grandmother arranged her marriage. 2 years later, Mom became the legitimate CEO of the company and a renowned businesswoman, while I was accepted into a top university in the country with the third highest score in my school. Our lives were just beginning.